So the impetus for starting Martus, the way I remember it, was really at the church. I came to pastor a struggling church that had very, very limited resources. And you were trying to help me figure out how to do everything from just pay the bills to salaries to even bring on some staff to help me. Like, what do you remember about that? And do you remember a moment where the idea kind of clicked?
Well, I had been involved in multiple software companies in the past, and you came around and to our church in 2005, mm-hmm. and you described the situation, and what we wanted to do was to improve things, improve every aspect of the ministry, but obviously that took money to have staff, the proper staff, to even fix up the church, and what was needed was financial projections or a budget to how do we get there, not only to how we do the next thing, but what do we have to do to grow to be able to afford what we want to accomplish. And I had some exposure to helping other organizations do budgets. And as one of the software businesses I was involved in got sold in 2008, I really wanted to take that experience and make a company out of it that helped nonprofits, in particular, faith-based nonprofits.
And which are led by people like me who aren't necessarily financial experts and know how to make those kind of projections, know how to look at the numbers and figure out how to make the most of what you've got rather than just be, kind of hamstrung by what you don't have.
Right. And we started out with an erroneous presumption that we could provide people like you with pictures, graphs, and charts that were easy to read that would help you to understand that. But we discovered that pastors of churches that were already pretty good size left that to other people.
Yeah.
And that we not only did we try to help you and with the information you needed to see what the future could hold, but these other more established churches had accounting people that they were the ones that were that needed what we could do for them. They needed to be able to tell the leadership of the faith-based organization and churches that we're doing well, or what's our priorities, and then change those priorities or turn those priorities into a budget.
So I came in January of 2005 to our church. 2008, Martus begins. But when did you really start to figure out what this thing was going to be?
Okay, after really trying a number of types of services we could provide to faith-based organizations, there was a pretty good-sized church in Augusta, Georgia, that we were courting them to help them do better book reporting and some kind of budgeting, and maybe even some outsourced accounting for them. And what happened was the lady who was their bookkeeper, I would say, pointing me to this organization called NACBA, which is National Association of Church Business Administrations, which later became TCN. That was a conference was being held in 2013. And the audience there were business people that worked at churches. And when I got there, I did more demos in the first 30 minutes of that conference than I had done in all of the other pastors' conferences I'd been to. And that's when I discovered that the accounting people of really more sizable organizations were who we need to be talking to. At that conference, there was this large church in Texas, Fort Worth, that really was fed up with using Excel to budget, and they had a lot of employees that were involved in the budgeting process, and we basically built something to fit them. We had ideas about how to build it, but we built it for them. They were extremely happy. And later on, we kept adding other churches, mega churches of multiple campuses. We added Seacoast in 2014 that had 12 campuses. And it just built from there. Later, maybe a few years later, we discovered there were also a lot of faith-based nonprofits outside of the church world that our system fit, because they had departments and they had projects and they had funds and that they wanted to budget by, and they also needed reports that helped to see how each of those departments in their organization were performing. A lot of these nonprofits had boards that required them to produce a budget, get it approved, and then it just built from there. We were pretty small from that stage, but then about 2017 or 18, we became more known. We started attending Intacct, which is now Sage Intacct's conferences, and a lot of people became aware of us because we had a booth there. We were sponsors, which was a big expense for us, but it proved to be very fruitful. And in 2020, with spite of COVID, we sold 75 new customers in that year, which was a record. And again, we became more well-known. I also noticed that Intacct had accounting organizations that were reselling their accounting software. And I go, well, they could be reselling Martus as well with the accounting system. And it would fill a hole that those customers needed to also do budgeting and reporting. And that just became to build on itself. So we started our own partner program in 2020. Intacct also asked us to make our product available in Australia. And given the time difference, working through partners was the only way to do that. So we signed up one particular partner, Juntabel, says they only work with charities, which is what we call nonprofits. And they sold, every year they sell multiple organizations Martus. They support it, they demo it and sell it, and we just support them.
A lot of great things happened in 2020 for Martus. Mm-hmm. And talk about what are the highlights, but beginning with 2020 up to today, 2025, and what are you rolling out now that's new, just to kind of bring this thing to conclusion.
Well, obviously we started the partner program in 2020. It obviously took more time before everything got rolling, but in 2021 we hired our first real salesperson who was working at a church that was a customer of ours, but he had sold software earlier in his career. And we went from 75 new customers in 2020 to 144 in 21 because of that. The partner program in combination with a real sales guy who had time to follow up and stay on top of the prospects we were working with. Then that incrementally we built on it ourselves. We were relying a lot on referrals from happy customers with other customers from partners, keeping to grow their Martus install base. But then one of the most impactful things that we did in 2024, we hired Taylor McDonald, who was extremely well known in the Intacct ecosystem. He had built their partner program, and he became our CRO. We hired a new director of sales. We hired some more salespeople. We hired a real marketing person who started really pushing, making Martus more known. I think we sold in 22, 160 customers. It probably was 170 some in 23. In 24, it was 200 plus. And this year, in 2025, we're already at 153 in 5 months.
Yeah.
And that is a combination of, we also built a lot of new stuff into the product. This idea of continuous improvement has kicked in. We added personnel budgeting in 2019, which matured over time. And in about 2 years ago, we added a report builder so people could customize their own reports. And it just, the awareness of Martus has greatly increased. We've integrated with multiple other accounting systems that we can also play in their ecosystem, because 70% of our customers we were selling were Intacct. But now we've got several other big accounting system companies that we integrate with that can make us continue into the future.
So talk about the AI, the new thing that was demonstrated today.
Well, AI is the buzz in the industry of everybody's talking AI. I don't think that what they're doing is all that necessarily practical. So what we wanted to do is, obviously AI really sells, and it has a lot to offer of making things happen faster. The first thing we did was we pointed AI to our knowledge base, which has all of our documentation. And I don't know if you've ever tried to find the answer to a question in some software's help file, but it's very difficult unless you just say exactly what's in the heading of that help file. Whereas the AI is much more intelligent to find words and summarize what's happened. I actually used it myself when our software changed, and I didn't know exactly how to do something that I used to know everything about. And it gave me 3 or 4 paragraphs that explained exactly what I needed. And that's, to me, that's transformative. But now our new thing is the report builder that we built is to allow people to quickly get at least a base level report with using just English words, without having to do lots of clicking to make it happen and get a report all of a sudden appears. And that product is ready for beta test now, and we're about to roll it out, and I think it will continue to expand.
So a lot has happened since 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And here you are halfway through 2025. So just kind of summarize, like, how are you feeling about how far you've come and what you see happening in the not too distant future?
Well, our focus has been to provide our customers with decision support information. What should we do? Okay, let's look at the numbers. What are they telling us? And that still continues to be the case. We also don't want to be the best kept secret in the world. There's 1.8 million nonprofits in the U.S. alone, and we have a sampling of customers in a lot of different areas that are not fully exploited that we plan to do. Like United Ways, we have 3 or 4. We have 4 or 5 Goodwills. We have multiple senior citizens things and customers, and on, that we want to continue to make ourselves known, because we think we can help a lot of people deliver the service that they're about.